right, folks, John Rush here today. My son Richard Rush is actually in the camera view today. He's not behind it like he typically is. We've got the camera on a tripod. We're going to do things just a tad different. This is the 2016 Nissan Titan XD. This comes with the 5-liter Cummins diesel. A lot of people have been waiting for this truck. They've been longing for this truck. This truck kind of fills the gap in between a full 3/4 ton truck and a light-duty half-ton, or even a heavy half-ton, if you would. This is a 6-bolt wheel. I'll get into some of that a little bit later and what that means. So it's not an 8-lug truck, an 8-lug wheel truck, so it's not a full 3/4 ton. And Nissan is very specific in not calling this a 3/4 ton. So it is a half-ton series truck, 5-liter Cummins diesel. You see the badging right on the side. Let's talk about the looks of the truck real quick. For one, I don't like the looks of this truck, personally. Now, the truck works great. It drives great. We'll get into that in a few minutes. I don't like the looks. It's kind of a love-hate. Some people I've talked to really love the looks of the truck. Others do not, like myself. Richard, what do you think of the looks?
I'm one of those that actually likes the look of the truck. I think they've done a tremendous job of blending, honestly, all of the aesthetically pleasing sides of their competitors, Ram, Chevrolet, Ford, into one truck. You look at the headlights, for example. That really looks like the new F-150. Same with the taillights. You see the side mirrors. Really looks a lot like the F-150. You get into the interior. Nissan brings some of its luxurious side to it, so it still has a Nissan stamp. But personally, I like the look of the truck. I think it gives it a nice, sleek appearance. Not a huge fan of the two-tone paint look that this particular truck does have on it, but there is options to get a single color model, and we can get into that a little bit later.
Okay, a couple of things I want to note real quick on this truck. Then the Nissan Titan XD, the way this truck sits right now, it's $63,000. It is a crew cab short box truck, and that's the only configuration you can get the Titan XD in right now, currently. There may be something different coming down the pike. We're not positive. We waited a long time for this truck in general. So honestly, I don't know what Nissan's plans are for that. Some of you out there in the blogosphere might know better than us, but for now, this is what you get. Diesel engine only for now. There is this coming spring. It's about early March right now doing this review. They're talking early spring about a 5.6-liter gas engine. We'll have to wait and see what that does. So let's get into some of the details even before we get into the driving portion. We average driving this truck around town fuel economy wise. If you stick to the highway only, and I mean highway only, you don't get off the highway at all. You can do 20 miles to the gallon in this truck. The minute you get off the highway, and I mean literally the minute you start doing any kind of city driving at all, you're looking at 15, 16 miles to the gallon personally. And Richard, you are in the 12s.
I've got a little bit more of a lead foot than you do, so I went even 12 to 15 range for me. I do a lot less highway driving than you do, however, so that's what we would expect. We read some different reviews, and they're actually averaging about 16. One thing to note, because of the classification of this truck, still a half-ton truck, but what Nissan has done is they've put it into that half-ton, heavy-duty half-ton category, which actually allows them to stay exempt from the fuel economy number. So you actually will not hear directly from Nissan what this truck is rated for. That's why they have to have the 6.5-foot bed, and they have to have the crew cab model. And so some of you are going to complain and say, well, Nissan, give me more options. For the first year, I think Nissan's kind of saying, you know what? This is what we want to do right now. See how people take a hold and grab onto this, which we'll get into a little bit later into the review. But yes, as far as fuel economy goes, I've been 12 to 16, depending on the day, depending on the drive.
Yeah, now like any other diesels, you may find that mileage increasing as the engine breaks in. Time will tell. Okay, a couple of real quick things we can note before we even get into the driving portion, which we'll do again real quick. One thing you'll note, the trailer towing mirrors. These are not power operated. They fold in. You have to manually fold them in, and I have to manually pull them out if you're going to tow a big trailer. There's nothing automatic on this. Now, as a side note, this is just something for all of you out there to consider. This is not a knock against Nissan, so Nissan, please don't take it this way. But I currently own a 2016 Ram 3500 Mega Cab truck. Laramie has all the bells and whistles, sunroof, everything you name it, including power folding mirrors, which I just mentioned this one does not have. My truck cost about $7,500 more than this particular truck did, but I get almost 17,000 pounds towing capacity out of it, which is 7,000 pounds more than what this truck actually comes with. I get another 2,000 pounds in the bed of capacity. I get rear air suspension. I get a lot more things for my money. You're going to have to be the judge of whether this fits the bill or do you need to move into a regular full-size 3/4 ton truck. You'll have to be the judge of that. Tell you what, Richard, let's take a quick drive. We'll then come back. We'll go through the interior, show you some of the other things. We'll take a walk around the vehicle also for you and show you everything on the new 2016 Nissan XD. All right, folks, we're going to get started now on the driving portion of this review. We'll come back, do the interior, give a walk around and all of that. A few things I want to note, though, before we get going. And I'll probably talk about this even further. The screen is really small here. Even though it's got a 360-degree camera, which we'll get into in a minute, it is a small screen. Might be a factor for you, may not be a factor. It's your call. The other thing you'll notice in this truck, which is interesting, no auxiliary switches anywhere. Now, a lot of the diesel trucks on the market today give the ability for some aux switches to control other things. Now, Nissan must be figuring it's probably not going to be a contractor type truck. This is somebody looking to haul a fifth wheel, a gooseneck. It's kind of that in-between truck between a full half-ton truck and the next jump up to a full 3/4 ton truck. This kind of fits the bill in between. Maybe that's why there's no auxiliary switches, but just something that you need to make note of. Also, something else I think Nissan, you ought to be listening to the marketplace, and something you may want to add in the future would be adjustable rear air suspension, which this particular truck, when you get it fully loaded, will probably drop 2 to 3 inches in the rear. Might be something for you worth considering. So the way the rest of the layout works, and we're almost out of fuel here, so you're seeing a flashing light here. We got 33 miles left because we've driven this truck the entire week. And fuel economy on this truck has ranged anywhere from 12 to 20 miles to the gallon. Huge spread depending upon how you're driving the truck. So one thing we mentioned in the opening, or I should say we'll mention when we come back and we'll show you the front, is you can, over here, it's really, really hard to see, you can adjust the front headlamp. So you can actually adjust the lights up and down depending upon the low you've got and how far down the back end is versus, what's raised on the front as far as that goes. The rest of it we'll go through. Your heat and ventilated seat controls and all that is here. Let's just get into the driving portion. We'll come back and explain the rest of that. But you can now see the 360-degree view, which really is cool when you're back into a trailer or something along those lines, or if I'm going to back out of my driveway here, you can actually see me coming around here. You can see exactly where you're at. It does have the dynamic grid lines, which I like. And I'm so used to driving with the mirrors. You guys can watch the camera, and I'm going to watch the mirrors because that's just how I'm used to driving. I apologize. I'm a mirror guy. I don't watch the cameras, but a lot of you guys that use the cameras love them. Frankly, for me, they could have it or not a big deal for me one way or the other. Unless you're hooking up a trailer, then it's kind of a cool thing to use. As we go down the road here, one thing you'll notice, it's a pretty quiet diesel. Ride quality is fantastic in this. One thing to note, though, on this truck, and I apologize, we're going to be heading into the light here for just a second. One thing to note on this truck, no exhaust brake. They do some braking with the transmission, and there's a few things that you can, or there's a few ways that they actually slow the vehicle down with the dual turbo, and the way that all works, you can read more about that on Nissan's website, or even on Cummins' website for that matter. But it doesn't have an actual exhaust brake that actually slows the vehicle down when you're trailering. Some of you, that may be a big deal. It's got plenty of braking for the truck, I will say that, but you're gonna have to be the judge as to whether or not you actually need an exhaust brake on the truck. Just something to note, not a big deal. Very luxurious truck. One more negative on the truck I want to throw at you since we're in the driving portion is turning radius. This has a turning radius equal to a full-size F-250 Super Duty. They have the exact same turning radius, which I believe is 53.5 feet. Now, my Ram Mega Cab, just as an example, my Ram Mega Cab has a turning radius of about 46 feet. Now, that's a Mega Cab, full-size truck. I can turn it in 46 feet. As you'll notice here, I'm going to have a hard time getting all the way around here without being in the ditch. It barely makes it. I can do it, but it's not super tight. My Mega Cab actually turns tighter than this particular truck does, but of course my Mega Cab rides much harder with a solid front axle. This has an independent front suspension, double wishbone front end, which makes the ride quality much better than my truck. So just something to think about. Tell you what, we'll head back. No sense driving this truck any further because you literally are going to have to get out and drive this truck for yourself to see how it performs, how the transmission works, and so on. Let's head back and we'll just go through the rest of the interior and exterior of the 2016 Nissan Titan XD. All right, folks, we're going to do things a little bit differently. Hope you enjoyed the drive. Before we get into the walk around of the rest of the vehicle, started the engine. Wanted to hear it with the hood open so you can hear how much noise is actually coming out of the 5-liter Cummins. So, Richard, as you come a little closer, we can get a little idea of what's underneath the hood here. And you can see 5-liter Cummins, It is a V8 engine. I'm not going to get into all the specifics. It's dual turbo. You can go look that up for yourself. Look on Nissan's website or multiple other places to find out all the details you want on this particular engine. It's all new for Cummins. It's the first time Cummins has done a V8 engine. They're typically an inline engine. This is the first time Cummins has actually done a V8. So it's a joint effort with Nissan. We'll see how it actually works and sells as time goes by. I'm going to shut the hood, turn the truck off, and we'll take a walk around. All right, folks. Now let's take a walk around the truck. So in the opening portion, we kind of showed you the front end, but I'll get out of the way so you can see the front end all by itself. Richard can show you some of that. And again, either love the looks or hate the looks. It just depends on who you are. It does have one cool feature. You can do this from inside the cabin, and it's hard to show that in the driving portion. These front lights, you can manually adjust from inside according to, if you've got something in the back and it's actually lowered the back end, which raises the headlamps, you can lower those back down so that you can see really well. This has the optional wheel and tire package on it, which you can see, the two-tone paint. And again, this is a crew cab short box edition truck. It's the only way this truck comes as we speak right now. Richard talked about in a couple of portions of the review, and I wanted to make sure that we show you this. Diesel here, DEF here. Now a lot of companies actually do it that way, where they have the DEF fluid real close. Frankly, as a fleet operator, I would prefer the DEF fluid someplace else. It's convenient for those of us that are driving it and you're all by yourself, but you fleet operators know what I'm talking about. This can present a problem at times having the DEF fluid that close. And the other negative on this truck is this is not a very big DEF tank, and there's nothing on the dash that actually shows you the capacity of the DEF tank. In other words, how full it is. My Ram truck, for example, my diesel Ram actually shows you a gauge on the dash all the time what the fluid is like. In other words, how much do I have left of DEF in the tank itself. So coming around the back, does have a nice look to the rear. And actually, I do like the rear look of this truck. So if you're just looking at the back end only, I do like the way the rear looks. Rear view cameras here, looks down at the trailer ball so you can actually hook up easy. And it's actually got cameras all the way around. There's cameras built into both of the rear view mirrors looking down, so you get a 360 view of this particular truck. All right, folks, I'm going to show you the tailgate now. Easy opening, or I should say easy lift tailgate, spring assisted. Doesn't just slam down. One thing my Dodge or my Ram doesn't do. I really like that. Coming back up is the same way. Super easy to put up there. I do love the rail system in here, and if Richard can show, it's kind of hard underneath. There is lights underneath the rail that light up the bed at night. I love that. I love the way these are flush. Gives you lots of tie down points. You can see your gooseneck covers in there for your gooseneck hitch or fifth wheel plate, which would go on top of that. You've got a 110 volt outlet. In fact, let me flip around here and show you how that works. There's a 110 outlet underneath here, which is kind of a cool feature. For as far as the gooseneck wiring goes, you're going to have most goosenecks, you're going to put the hitch up there, and as you have the gate back up, typically the gooseneck wires are going to come in, plug right in here to the back, not a big deal. Some of you guys with fifth wheels, you may want to actually put a plug in the back of the bed yourself. That's something you'll have to change or add or do whatever. Not a huge issue. Tell you what, let's walk into the interior and I'll show you some of the interior features of the 2016 Nissan Titan XD. All right, folks, before I climb into the back seat, I will show you they do have full-length running board, which makes it nice if you're going to get into the back. I mentioned earlier there's no real steps. There is, and Richard mentioned off camera, there is an additional step you can add that goes back here where you can step in and out of the back of the truck, or you can get in off this side. But as I climb in, and we actually had 5 passengers in this last night, everybody commented that was in the back seat how luxurious the back was. So I did get some great compliments. Nice soft touch features throughout. Nissan, you did a nice job there. Nice soft touch here, wood grain here. Of course, your window switch, tweeter, or your bigger speaker is down here. Lots of leg room. This seat is back almost all of the way. I'm 5'10". There's plenty of room, plenty of headroom. A lot of you guys are wear cowboy hats, ball caps, things like that. You've got plenty of headroom here, not a problem there. You do have another 110 power port here. So we showed you the one in the bed, plus one here. Plus you've got heated seats back here in the back and 2 additional cup holders here. There is a console that folds down in the middle right here with 2 more cups. So you've actually got a total of 6 cup holders in this, plus what you get inside the door pockets. So there's another additional 2 on each side and some in the front. That part of it, they've done great. So I tell you what, I'm going to hop out. We're going to go off camera for just a second, and I'll get the seats folded up and show you what's underneath the seats. All right, folks, we're still on the back seat. I want to fold this up, show you how that works. So just flips up and to come back down. My wife did this last night. Simply pull the lever, and off you go. As far as actually getting this nice and flat, I do like that ability, where you've got a nice flat full, nice flat area back here to put your bags, different things along those lines. That part I really like. As far as underneath here goes, you pull this up, and this is locking. If you notice, there's the key here, where you can actually take a key and actually lock this compartment, and you've got some nice storage boxes on both sides. 60/40 seat here in the rear. Again, nice feature. Nissan, you did a good job on the configuration of the cargo back here. All right, folks, now I'm in the front seat of the 2016 Nissan Titan XD. So I'm going to go through a few things in the front seat, and I'll give you some of the pros and cons both. Pros are, I love the seats. They're very, very comfortable. I like the wood grain around, in this particular model, the wood grain around the outer steering wheel. This is a heated wheel. I like that part of it. Heated and ventilated seats, and I tell you what, they are very, very comfortable. That part I love. Okay, let's get to some of the negatives that are here. I hate this center console section of this truck. Now, some of you are going to say, geez, John, why? Well, I guess I'm used to my Ram, and I'm so used to my Ram, everything in my Ram has a place, or there's a place for everything in my Ram is what I should say. There is an added feature in this truck I do like. Got a spot for your sunglasses, which is a nice place. That's about the extent of the pros when it comes to the way the console is designed. So Nissan, if you're listening, here's a few thoughts for you. There's no place for the phone. Now, granted, this is a 6S, Apple iPhone 6S, or 6S Plus, which is a little bit larger, but there's no place for the phone. No matter where you put the phone, there's no place to actually put the phone where you can actually then get to it again. No matter what you do, there's nothing in here to actually hold your phone, which to me is just a huge negative. No matter what I do with the cup holders here, which I do like the fact you can reconfigure this, because you've got some space underneath here where you can put some different things. I guess you could drop your phone down here in this little compartment, and I guess that's okay, other than if you'll notice in here, and Richard can show you this, there's no charge ports here. So there's no place to actually put a cord into the back of your phone where it's somewhat hidden. And on a lot of the other trucks, they've got plenty of USB ports and power ports where you actually get a chance to actually put your phone in something and have it stored nice and neatly away. I do like the fact you can move this cup holder around. That's sort of a neat feature. Going interior here to the console itself, it is a nice big deep console. You can put a nice big laptop in. There's one 12-volt power port down below, but again, that's about the extent of it. I don't like the way this console is configured, frankly. I guess it's because I'm used to my Ram truck. I don't know what else to say. Brake controller, I've gotten a lot of people feedback. It's in a nice position handily for your hand. Unless you've got something else stuck up in here, then it does block the controller. Again, you're going to have to be the one to get out and drive this truck and make a decision for yourself. Okay, another negative I've got. Too small of a screen, and the buttons, if you have gloves on, very, very hard to navigate and use for people that are actually going to be using this truck to haul and tow and do things with. So I'm a guy that a lot of times in the wintertime I'm pushing snow, things like that. I've got gloves on. These are hard to navigate when you actually have gloves on. Now, you need to get out, drive the truck, and figure that out for yourself. As far as the apportionments of the inside of this truck goes, that part I like. Everything on the steering wheel, easy to navigate. Gear shift selector is up here. Again, to give more console room here, they've moved the selector on the Titan from down here to up here. Four-wheel drive controls are here. 2 high, 4 low. I've read some comments on the internet that say, why not an automatic four-wheel drive? Because you've got a diesel engine with a different powertrain, and then you don't do an automatic four-wheel drive with a diesel option. The torque requirements with a viscous coupler, it's not going to happen, folks. So some of you out there, you reviewers even that are saying, why not an auto four-wheel drive in this truck? It's not going to happen. So quit asking for it. You're never going to see it. So tell you what, let's jump out, and I'll give you my opinion. Richard will also, of the 2016 Nissan Titan XD. All right, folks, hope you enjoyed everything we did today on this review so far. It's going to be a joint effort on the opinion portion of this particular truck. This is, again, the 2016 Nissan Titan XD. What do I think of the truck? Love the way the truck operates. I wish it had an exhaust brake. We talked about that in the driving portion. This truck does not. It's got some really cool features with the dual turbo, but it does not have an exhaust brake. Some of you hauling some of the heavier loads, you might notice that, and will there be some aftermarket features for that? I'm sure there will be, but time will tell when it comes to that. A couple of the other negatives I had on this truck. Smelled diesel exhaust a lot driving this truck. I'm not sure exactly why. Might be something in particular with this particular truck we're driving, but that's unique. Typically anymore, you do not smell diesel exhaust hardly at all. But even my wife in the passenger seat actually complained at several stoplights, what is that smell? And you could smell the exhaust on this particular truck. To me, that's a big negative, along with the looks. I'm not a huge fan of the looks. Now, I am a fan of heavy-duty half-ton. The ride quality is fantastic. I love that part of it. It's a very quiet, luxurious truck to drive, and will get really good fuel economy if you stick to the highway and keep your foot out of it. Richard, what do you think?
Well, I would have to agree with you on a lot of the points. As far as the looks go, I personally like the looks. I'm a fan of it. I like what Nissan has done. I love the interior features and some of the luxury options that they've added to this truck. You have the around view monitoring in terms of the cameras. You have the heated and cooled front seats. You have the heated back seats along with vents in the back seat, which actually some of its competitors and even the higher end trim packages do not have. I love the ride quality of it. It is a, it does have a diesel. You can tow up to 12,000 pounds depending on the configuration of the truck, which is really, really nice. What did I not like about this truck? You mentioned the fuel economy, and also I would say the fuel tank. It's only a 26-gallon fuel tank without being able to actually add that as an option. So Nissan, if you're listening, we would like to see that as an option, especially for people who are hauling a lot more vehicles, or in our case, a fleet. We run a lot of that. We'd like to not have to fill up every single day, be able to run multiple days. Also, the DEF tank, and we showed you this a little bit earlier, is really, really small, and it's also right next to the gas tank. And for those of us in the fleet world, we don't have the smartest people working, and so sometimes they tend to put diesel in the DEF, and some of you are going to say, well, how is that possible? Just trust us on that. But overall, I really do like this truck. I like the ride quality. I feel that Nissan is really going to be able to fill a niche and fill a gap that exists between the light-duty half-ton that's just been, well, they've had some, Rams had some eco diesels, a couple of the other trucks. Chevrolet's added their Colorado and Canyon, which is even lower than that. And then you also have, again, honestly, the HD trucks, the Super Duties, that sort of thing. So, in my opinion, I think this will be a great truck for that. It's kind of what I think.
All right, so for yourself, you're going to have to get out and drive this truck, just like we always say. And this is a truck where you're going to have to take an extended test drive to really see if it fits your bill, if it fits your needs. We went through a lot on this review. It's a longer review. We're not going to apologize for that, because this is a truck that you really need to be sure of before you go out and write a check for 63 or finance a purchase of $63,000. So go check it out at your local Nissan dealer. Tell them John and Richard Rush from Drive Radio sent you.